it's time to play. Coach Rene and Matt lead the way. Radical MMA brings the heat. The martial culture podcast can't be beat. Punches fly, minds collide. Technique and heart side by side. Tune in now, don't hesitate. The martial culture podcast, great and straight.
Wow. That guy's got pipes.
I love our new intro. I absolutely love it. 80s rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Yes. You remember it? Very vaguely. Not like I do, because I'm like way older than you.
No.
Yeah. You were like a little kid in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a teenager. What was your favorite cartoon to watch? Thundercats.
G.I. Joe.
Oh, yes. I loved
Silverhawks. Did you ever watch Silverhawks?
No, I missed that one.
It was a good one.
I liked G.I. Joe. And I was in high school, but it was like a good, de-stress moment to just watch G.I. Joe,
Yeah.
you know?
I was at a flea market on Saturday and they had the Sword of Omens. I almost bought it.
Oh, from Thundercats. Oh my God.
But it was $100.
$100.
I'm sure I could find it on the line for cheaper. Because it wasn't sharpened. It was just a plastic. It wasn't plastic, but it was metal. But it was pre-prop.
Oh, right. Well, that's still pretty funny.
Yeah. I'll probably buy it on the internet.
All right. Anyway, so enough about 80s cartoons. But we had an eventful weekend. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about.
Let's hear.
So first of all, I want to say I'm super proud of my guys for going through all this. And we got 2 massive victories this weekend.
I saw the video.
Thank you.
Sandro going nuts.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so this is what happened. So we were originally supposed to have 2 different opponents. We're different opponent for Devin. Devin had this opponent. Unfortunately, he fought a month ago and broke his hand. So he was replaced by a guy. His name was Jaquan. And Jaquan has a very long mixed martial art history. He's been training for a long time. He is 10-1. His only loss being a decision loss to Sandro at 155. But he decided to move down to 145. Now, he tried to move down to 145 once before, but I believe the weight cut was a little too much for him, although that's what he said. So he canceled the fight with Devin. But looking back, I think, I don't know, whatever. So he made the weight. Everything looked good. We got to the fight, and he's not there. The rules meeting happens. He's not there, which is already a big, no. You should show up at the rules meeting. The other thing is Sandro's opponent, who is a very orthodox practitioner of Orthodox Judaism, which we absolutely respect. So he cannot do anything until the Sabbath is over, the sundown on the Sabbath, which is Saturday. So we understood that he wouldn't.
So late.
Yeah. He wouldn't get there till sundown, which we totally understand, But sundown was 7:30, right? Everything keeps going. It's 8:30. Neither opponent is there. It's crazy. We're like, where is he there? They're like, no. And then the promoter comes over to me and says, Jaquan wants to pull out. Uh-oh. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding. This can't be happening. I got incredibly angry. And then I had to tell Devin, and Devin was incredibly angry, although he held it back really well. And then the promoter, who it's not by his fault, but he said, okay, we'll just set up the next fight. So we have a challenger here. And we met the challenger. Unfortunately, that meeting was not, I would not say I enjoyed the meeting so much, but anyway, I'll leave it at that. But then I said, this is we need to fight tonight. We need something. So I give a credit to the promoter, Christian. He really worked his butt off and basically told Jaquan, if you don't show up, you're going to be banned from every MMA organization forever, right? Based stuff like that. And some other things, we did some other things to agreement. And he said, okay. But he wasn't even anywhere near the fight. So we had to send one of my students, Raphael, was, and shout out to Raphael. Oh my God. Raphael's one of our up and coming guys. He fought recently and won a tremendous fight, but he was there helping me corner. My wife and Rafael helped me corner the two fighters. And this is his first time Rafael's cornering, but my God, he did an amazing job. First, holding pads and moving around with the fighters. He looked like a professional coach. I'm like, I'm a little jealous here. You know, he was so good. And you know, it really takes a team. But then when all this stuff happened, he opened up his phone. He sent an Uber to go pick up Jaquan and bring him to the show. And he's like, this is where the Uber is. And he took care of everything. And he was like the logistics guy of your dreams. It was like he just made everything happen. Wow. He was just, you know, they're talkers and doers. And Rafael is 1,000% a doer. And so that Jaquan gets there, but because the Uber was going to take some time because this guy was like nowhere near the fight. It was unbelievable. This is like such unprofessional behavior. Obviously we're amateurs, but still you have to be like, you have to show up to your performance. Like, you know, but I understand. Like, I really think that he just didn't want to have 2 losses in a row against the same team. Like he just didn't want it. Like he felt.
Then win.
Yeah, right. Then win. Exactly. I completely agree. Then train hard and win. But, and he's been training a lot longer than our guys. I mean, especially Sandro. Sandro's only been training me for, you know, it's coming out, it's about 3 years now. And, you know, Jaquan's been around the game since, you know, the 2010. This is 15 years, you know. He's been around training, and he is a very unorthodox, very squirmy, very, very challenging opponent. A lot of the things he does are not like orthodox moves. They're not what you would expect, but he has a way of using his body. He's long and lean, and he's fast. So he's not only just long and lean, but he's long and lean and fast and strong. Very strong, deceptively strong. And has a great, I have to give this guy's credit. He has a very good fight IQ, but he doesn't have the highest level of technique like some of our guys, but he has a very high fight IQ. And sometimes fight IQ, actually very often, trumps skill. Like you can see that with a lot of fighters. Their fight IQ is so high, even though their technique is not. Like Dricus du Plessis, most people would say that his technique is not the most clean, but his fight IQ, what to do when, is amazing. So this guy Jaquan's similar. And so he finally gets there, but he's late. So Sandro and Devin switched fight order. So Sandro was supposed to fight last, Devin was fight. And I'll get to some of the other prelim fights. It was crazy. But anyway, so we're like, Sandro's going to get ready to fight. So I'm Sandro, well, let's go. And I'm like, well, is his opponent there? And his opponent still hadn't gotten there. It's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. The guy's not there. I'm like, what are you doing? Finally he shows up. But I'm like, this is like ridiculous. And honestly, I really believe that he was using the religious issue as an issue, but I also believe that he was like, yeah, I'll just show up and make them wait. You know, because that's a psychological advantage. You ever know the story of Miyamoto Musashi and Sasaki Kojiro, the famous duel at Gandu Island? Mm-hmm. So this is 2 amazing swordsmen. Musashi is like basically considered the best swordsman ever live in Japan, you know? And they had this duel that we're going to roll out to this island. And the duel is supposed to be like 12 o'clock. Right? So Musashi's like, yeah, no, I'm going to make him wait. And he made him wait. And he's just hanging out, made him wait. And he showed up with an oar instead of a sword. So he's like, not only was he late, and in Japan, this is like super rude, right? And then he's like, nah, I don't even need a sword. So what he did was he used it as a psychological tactic to upset his opponent. And then he beat him right there because the guy came in like, you motherfucker, I can't believe you're so late. And or what are you kidding me? And bump, and he's dead. You know, like, because he's too busy being angry.
He killed him?
Yeah, it was to the death. Yeah. With an oar. That's
brutal.
Yeah. It's pretty serious. Right. I'm trying to make a pun on oar, but I can't think of one.
Did they ever make a movie about this guy?
Yeah, they made like 10, you know? Yeah, in most of them in Japanese, there's what's called the Samurai Trilogy, which is his life, Miyamoto Musashi's life. And the final one is the one, the duel, I believe. But it's not really the most exciting movie if you don't speak Japanese and appreciate the cinema from the 1950s and 60s, right? But they made a bunch of movies, right? But, Miyamoto Musashi's like, the Book of Five Rings. He's like super famous guy, right? And
it's called Lord of the Rings, I think.
No, that's the One Ring.
Oh.
This is the Book of Five Rings, right?
Oh.
Anyway.
Infinity Rings, right?
Infinity Ring, yeah, I know, right? So anyway, I think he was trying to do that. He was trying to make us wait to get us upset. And it definitely did get us upset. But I have to give credit to both Sandro and Devin. So we went from being angry to locked in like a Terminator, especially Devin. Devin's like, it's nothing. He's like, no, it's nothing. Let's go. And so Sandro walks out. And between you and me, I didn't say it on the air last time when we did our show, but Sandro has an injured elbow. I actually think it's a stress fracture. We have to get it x-rayed. But he was training and kind of overdid it and injured his arm. So he was coming in one-handed. But he told my wife, he didn't tell me, that I'm not happy about this. He's like, I'm not going to finish him. I'm just going to punch him for all 3 rounds. So all he did was he just punched him. Now, Sandro's known as a grappler. It comes out. First of all, he lays into him with the kick and then hits him with an overhand. And we had practiced. I'm like, Sandro, I told him, the overhand's going to work. He's open to the overhand. He's really open. And of course, when you're fighting a taller opponent, overhand is a really good weapon. Because if you remember George St. Pierre and Matt Serra, so Matt Serra is much shorter than George St. Pierre, and you just bump overhand and knock George St. Pierre out. It's sometimes that blind spot hits when there's a height difference, and the overhand is the weapon of the shorter opponent. And this guy was a little bit taller than Sandro, but also he was very open in his stance. And I think, again, he's used to training with boxing gloves, which gives you a little more protection. I said, overhand all day. So, boom, hits him with overhand. The guy's like, what? Wait, I thought you were going to grapple. Then he takes him down, grapples him, beats him up. Boom, round ends, just total domination, just absolute total domination. The second round, he hits him with the overhand, and the guy goes timber, falls out. I thought he knocked him out, but the guy was still there. Sandro goes in the guard, punches him, gets wherever he wants, gets in full guard, starts punching him. The guy gets the turtle, starts punching him. And I'm like, why is Sandro not getting his hook in to take the back? And he legitimately is just not doing it. I'm like, get the hook in. And he's just not listening to me. He's not doing it because he doesn't want to, he wants to punch him. And I'm like, wait, something's going on here. But he kept punching him. And again, second round, all domination. I mean, he hit this guy everywhere, standing, ground, punched him, picked him up, double-legged him. The guy had nothing except escapes. So the third round comes. I'm like, how you feeling? He's like, yeah, fine. He's like, okay, breathe. Did you take his back? He's like, doesn't say anything. I'm like, well, something's going on here. My wife's like laughing. And I'm like, wait, what? And then, so the next round comes, but at this point, he takes him down, drops him again with an overhand, right? The guy doesn't fall the same way, but takes him down, get his guard, ground and pound. But he gets a little sloppy with his ground and pound, and the kid locks in on the broken arm. A super technical, it was good. A super technical, tight, traditional guard armbar. The same one that Hoist Gracie broke Keith Hackney's arm back in the day, and with UFC, just elevating super traditional armbar, and it was locked in. And this kid was like, his timing was very good. I have to give it to him. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's his broken arm. I'm like, whoa! I panicked for a second, but he defended properly, passed down, and then wound up taking his back and locked in the choke, or finished ground and pounding him, right? And then we won the fight decision. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, I could. After he's like, I could have finished him. I just wanted to punch him the whole time. I'm like, what are you doing? So anyway, it was a unanimous.
Time next time.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly, right. But that guy's face looked really like he looked like he had been hit by a bus. He did not look good, and his coach was they had to escort him out. His face was bloody, he was cut up, his eyes, he took a lot of damage. And Sandro took no damage. He just hurt his toe in one of the scrambles. The guy's knee went onto one of his, I think his pinky toe, or his big toe, and it kind of, I think it jammed it a little bit, but not a serious injury. And his arm was fine, you know. But then that's good. So then the Jaquan fight happens right afterwards. So finish one, I go right back. Devin is a man on a mission. He is locked in. All that craziness, boom, done, boom. And again, we're known as grapplers. The first thing, Devin lays into him with a huge kick and boom. And it was like, he just starts punching him. And Jaquan is a very good striker. And he's out striking him the whole time. Wow. And then he takes him down and he gets into this position. So it's this control position. So you know what Khabib does, where he locks the legs up like a triangle, and he kind of puts the guy. We call that mermaid because the guy's legs are stuck like this, and you lock up, and the guy, and then we do that. But we have another variation where we only attack one leg, and that was part of our strategy. And Devin just locks that in, like he locked it in. It was good. But then this is what happens. Did I ever tell you about what I call the bacon, bacon, bacon rule?
No.
Okay. You ever see that commercial for dog food when the food comes out, the dog goes, bacon, 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 bacon. You know the commercial, right? So this happens when you get excited and you go, bacon, 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 bacon. There it is. And then you screw up because you're too hyper, right? So he's like, I got it. And he overreach because he's like, I'm going to win right now. And he gets reversed. Because Jaquan is sneaky and he could feel that there was a slight rush, a slight went too fast, went too rush, got a little ahead of himself. He overextended and rolls him right over. Wow. And it was very well done. And I'm like, oh, shoot. But then Devin defends the guard. He gets up. Now, to Jaquan's credit, as Devin was getting up, he lit him up with a hook, with the uppercut. So he was trying to get up against the cage, like you're trying to walk up and get out of the guard. And he did, but he ate one punch. It was a serious punch. But he was fine, brushed it off, took him down, took his back, choked him out. Boom. That was it. So Jaquan did get one punch on us. Wow. And it was, that kid punches hard, man. But it was over in like 90 seconds. Wow. It was good. And then we went home, and I got home, like we got there at 1:00 and I got home at like midnight. So it was like almost 12 hours, 11 hours straight of just pure unadulterated stress. Oof. And then we started watching the UFC fight at home. And for those who listened to the podcast last week, I said it's a really interesting fight. First of all, Pantoja demolished the challenger. It was just, I knew that was going to happen. It was just the absolute one in the exact same way that Devin won. Just smashed him, choked, struck him, outstruck him, took him down, boom, choked him out. It was like Pantoja's right now exceeded Demetrius Johnson's wins, number of submissions, and title defenses at a number of fights. I'm not sure title defense, but he's exceeded Demetrius Johnson's record as a champion. Johnson is basically considered at 125 the best to ever do it, and he's already exceeded that. And Pantoja is unbelievable because this kid doesn't have the same gifts, but his hard work and his gumption and his just ability to just push through. The kid is amazing. He is going to be another GOAT for sure. And of course, I like who he is, his attitude, the way he carries himself, the way he approaches. It was just great. Mm-hmm. So then the Oliveira fight happens. Did you know the results, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I said, and remember what I said in the last podcast about the two different styles? Do you remember what I said?
No.
Okay.
Vaguely, right. So basically I said Oliveira represents a more mixed martial art approach in the sense that he trains mixed martial arts the majority of his time. And of course he does some striking here, but he trains mixed martial arts the majority of the time. Topuria, the majority of the time, does individual style training, which I think is incorrect. But that's what we all used to do. However, Topuria, the fight starts out and Charles does exactly what I thought he'd do. He tries to demolish Topuria's front leg. He throws a kick and Topuria wobbles. Like it was like really, he throws a kick and you can see Topuria's leg getting red. That is taking damage. But then I think he kind of got ahead of himself. And I think he's like, oh, this guy doesn't hit that hard, and he did this takedown. Topuria's grappling was amazing. As Charles took him down, he reversed it and got on top. It was great. And then he wound up on top with some ground and pound, but then they split it up. But I think Charles like, whoa. And in that scramble, Charles got cut. So that was bad. And then I think because of the cut, he got a little bit like, okay, I got to finish it. He tried another shot. Topuria easily defended it, which surprised me. And then Oliveira just walked right up to him and was like nose to nose brawling. And that is the last thing you want to do. He just went into, and then he ate a 1, 2, 3, just basic, the 1, 2, 3, jab, cross, hook, boom. And he just got his lights put out.
Wow.
And it was really clean and super crisp boxing. So I have to say that, I don't know, I have to take this data point very seriously. So what would you think? Why do you? I mean, obviously you didn't see the fight, but given the background, what would your take? Given that like these two different styles, what would your natural conclusion be?
I mean, you can think about like maybe specializing is more valid than
yes, exactly right. That's exactly the point. You see, you're such a smart guy, right? And that's what UFC used to be. Remember the old days where it was like jiu-jitsu versus this? And the old days, when it was the very first, when jiu-jitsu went against any other style, who usually won? Jiu-jitsu. It was dominating the early years of the UFC. I mean, the Gracie would come in and you just go fight the boxer, beat him. Fight the kickboxer, beat him. Fight the Kempo guy, beat him. Fight this guy, beat him. I mean, it was a commercial for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But they were able, as specialists, to push their style on other people because they were so far ahead that people didn't understand what they're doing. But what happened was then people started understanding, so they couldn't push their style. And that was really what gave birth to, the mixed martial art revolution. It's like, okay, now one is not enough. So one is not enough. Let's train in, the MMA disciplines, right? As a cohesive whole. Mm-hmm. But I would say, with this win, you could say, well, specialty is back. I'm cautious to say that. I'm going to take it as a serious data point. I don't have any definitive conclusions, but I would say, I think the old UFC rule applies. Whereas if you're that far, like Anderson Silva too, Anderson Silva was so far ahead of everybody in striking for a bit that he didn't really even need to wrestle, right? He didn't need to grapple, although his grappling was pretty good. But then people kind of caught up and he slowed down a little bit. You could even say with someone like Lyoto Machida, his karate was so good that he didn't need other skills as much. But then John Jones happened. And John Jones was like, no, your karate and my striking are not so different. Maybe your striking is a slight better, but not enough where I can't push my grappling. And then he pushed the grappling and tapped him out, and you beat him in a combination of MMA. So I would say the old rule might apply if in one discipline you are just leagues ahead sharper. And I'll tell you, Topuria's boxing form is some of the best I've seen in the UFC. He does some things I don't like, but his boxing form is great. And that 1, 2, 3 was it was textbook. It was like pop, pop, pop. And Oliveira is very good at striking, of course, but he's a little bit, I don't want to use the word sloppy. He's not sloppy, but he's a little bit wilder. The shoot the box style is a little wilder, and a little more kicking, a little bit more, less crisp boxing. So my take is this, that certain elements of the fight, that if you push that element, it gives you an advantage. Now, we've known this for Khabib. Khabib pushes the grappling over the striking, and people can't stop it. Now, he isn't a mixed martial art fighter, but he definitely has an advantage in the grappling game because he's just so much better, right? But I think Topuria has understood that and this is what I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think it's like if you take time to really dissect the form of boxing and excel at it, that you can have that same way that jiu-jitsu kind of would push on people. Your boxing is so crisp that they just can't get close to you. You know, Oliveira's coming in. Anyway, pop, pop, pop. That being said, I don't know. That's just kind of like, I need to see this data point. I need more information. And if it turns out to yield results, we'll change the way we train. You know? Though I don't think the game is up. Like, I still believe that mixed martial art training all the disciplines together is still the way to go, because it just prepares you better for that environment. You play football to get good at football. Yeah. You don't play basketball to get good at football. You don't play rugby to get good at football, right? You know, nobody says, oh, in the off season I'll do rugby to get fit. No, it's a different game. Right. You know, similar overlaps, softball and baseball. You know, similar, but nobody plays softball to get good at baseball.
They're having kind of that conversation now with the Olympics, because flag football is part of the Olympics.
Really?
And they're saying, should professional NFL players be our Olympic team? But there's professional flag football players that are like, well, we play flag football. Why would you put Patrick Mahomes in flag football? He doesn't play flag football.
And I don't know anything about football, but I bet they're very different, right?
I mean, there's a lot of rules that are the same, but there is rules that are different. Yeah. The flag is the big one. Yeah. But people are...
How does that work? Like, if you grab the guy's flag off his back,
it's over.
Oh, right. Yeah. So there's like less contact.
No contact, basically.
Oh. Yeah. I guess, is it a more mobile game?
A lot more finesse. A lot of like running around and dodging people.
Interesting. Yeah. So I would suspect that if they were NFL guys who went over to flag football, they would not do as well as you'd expect.
That's what people are saying.
Yeah. So because it's a different sport, right? Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
So, yeah. Did Oliveira really test his knowledge of the mix? I mean, we talked about like him pressing the transitions. Did he do a lot of that?
I mean, that's I think where Oliveira was really good, is it his transition between games. So even in this fight, so he got the takedown, he wound up on the bottom, and then he scrambled to a very, very, very good leg lock. And he didn't finish it, but it was a transition between striking, takedown, guard work, leg lock, stand up, back to striking. Man, that's MMA right there. Yeah. That's great. And that would all happen within 5 seconds. You know, that's great. That is like amazing. And that's what I believe in. That being said, definitely it goes back to the JKD problem. And JKD was the art of Bruce Lee. And then Bruce Lee said, you know, you have to be cognizant of combat in all its various forms, whether it's, you know, someone's 10 feet away from you and use, bow and arrow. Well, I'm making a joke, but you know, or you're in kicking range, or you're in elbow and boxing range, or you're in clinch range, or ground. He's the first people. I mean, this is in the late 50s, early 60s. So you have to learn grappling, and you could see in his movie Enter the Dragon, the very first opening scene, he wins the training match with the grappling hold. He puts the guy in crucifix and then taps him out from crucifix. I forgot what he did, but in all his movies, he understood the need for kicking, for punching, for wrestling, for grappling. He had an MMA mindset. But then, you know, he passed away. But the question is, you know, what happened? How do you train for that? And what most JKD guys would do is they train Monday wrestling, Tuesday this, Thursday, Friday this, sticks this, and they wind up training like 15, 16 different things. So they're okay at a bunch, but not really great at anything. They're competent at a lot of things, but not great at any one thing. And then when one person who is really good at one thing could get to their zone, could push it, then they would just lose. So they wouldn't be good enough to strike with a really good striker. But they could strike. They wouldn't be good enough to wrestle with a really good wrestler, but they could kind of wrestle. And they wouldn't be good enough to do submission fighting with the jiu-jitsu guy or judo or sambo guy, but they could kind of do it. So it's like you kind of do things, but you're not really good at anything. And that is a disaster. And so this is why JKD guys either abandoned that approach and trained much more in the tight disciplines of MMA rather than mixing 17, 18 different styles. Like one day we're doing Filipino boxing
And the next day we're doing Indonesian silat. And they're like your brain can't comprehend all these different systems. So it's like the gym that Conor McGregor's from is called Straight Blast Ireland. It's part of an association called Straight Blast, created by this guy, Matt Thornton. And he was an ex-JKD. And he said these problems is, first, everything has to be proven in combat. And second, we have to whittle down less is more. And we're going to learn how to wrestle. We're going to learn how to jiu-jitsu. We're going to learn how to kickbox. Boom. And we're going to take it there. And then we're going to learn the transitions. So he created guys who are very, very polished because they're just doing less and getting better at more, but still doing MMA, you know? And, but I think there's room, particularly in the boxing, for MMA guys to get much, much better. Just like the way jiu-jitsu guys, when they first came, were light years ahead of everybody in MMA grappling. And then everybody had to kind of catch up, right? Right now, Topuria and a few other guys, you know, that we've seen are so good at one dimension, and they have a general MMA knowledge that if they get in that point, it's over. And his boxing was crisp and clean. And other thing is he does have knockout power at 155, and who knows even more. He has the knockout power, which I doubted. I thought, at 155 he may not have that power, but his form is so good. It's probably less genetics and more his form is excellent, and his timing and precision, and he was right on the button. I mean, he's exactly connecting exactly where you're supposed to punch. And he rocked Oliveira with all three punches, with the jab, the cross, and the hook. Each one was like pop, pop, pop. Wow. So this is what Oliveira's head went. like this. And you know, we call that kind of kazushi, which is spinal misalignment, when your spine is like, and then think of what's going on in his brain. Yeah. His brain is ricocheting back and forth. So technically phenomenal. And I have to use it as a data point, but I still think that what might be happening is that we're in MMA, we're especially the hands can there's certain elements of the hands that we have to refine much, much more so that you can deal with people like that. Yeah. And just like we used to refine the jiu-jitsu. So not Muay Thai, not kickboxing, but I mean literally your hands. Because that's where, like, I think if Topuria tried to kick with him, the range is different. And I wouldn't have happened. I mean, literally the boxing range. What I said though, and Oliveira did not do this, is you should meet his boxing, Topuria's boxing, with elbows. And that kind of like nullifies a lot. If you do a lot of really good elbow work, tight elbow work, it's very hard to knock people out. But he didn't do that at all. He didn't do that at all. So anyway, it was an interesting fight. It was interesting. I was sad, and I did put some money on Oliveira and lost it all. And but he bet on Pantoja, and I bet on a few other people on that night. So it was like okay in the end, but it was disappointing. And I'm a big fan of Charles Oliveira too. I think he's a little emotional. Like Charles Oliveira is just one of my people I look up to a lot in terms of what he's achieved in mixed martial art. And I guess I was kind of rooting for him too. But that being said, Topuria was amazing. He was unbelievable. So anyway, that was this weekend. Yeah. Not as interesting as your flea market adventures.
I almost got a sword.
I know, right?
Almost.
The sword of omens.
Mm-hmm. Sight beyond sight.
I haven't heard that in like 30 years.
I told my wife I could have sight beyond sight, and she was like, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
But you should get it.
She's like, nerd alert. No, I have these moments of like complete nostalgia. So I was watching TV last night. I was watching The Bear, the TV show The Bear, and his commercial comes up, and it just had me bawling. It was this mom and her daughter, and she's basically like doing all these 80 things. Like first, she's like trying to give her daughter a Capri Sun, juice pack, right? And the girl's like, what is this thing? And then
they don't have Capri Suns anymore?
I don't think they do juice packs like they used to, And she's like, how do you put this in? And then she's like, okay, you're a latchkey kid. You have to come home and microwave, pizza or something, like all the things like, and then it was like, oh, you play with super squirters and Nerf guns. And it was the entire
like 80s experience that pre-internet and stuff. I was like cracking up and with this big nostalgia attack. So
that's funny.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Kids these days, they don't know how good they got it or how bad they have it.
It's a mix. As older people, I think we tend to say, oh, back in my day. But everybody says that. And there are things that are legitimately, I think, the next generation we should have to learn from. And they're legitimate things where they're a little lost. It's a mixed bag,
Sure. I hate the internet. The more and more every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's just too much. There's too much stuff.
Too much stuff. And not high quality either.
No.
Yuval Harari, he's the social scientist. He's a historian. He wrote the book Sapiens. So he said something very interesting. There's a huge difference between information and knowledge. And it is much easier to come up with a story, a narrative, or information than it is to come up with real, authentic knowledge. Mm-hmm. So most people will come up with information. But to sift out, so he's like, to sift out between what's really true and what's really authentically true it takes a lot of hard work. It takes failure and this and that. And to sift through that is difficult. So most people will create a comforting narrative. This is happening to you because of those people over there, or this is it's just some comforting narrative, could be whatever, but it's completely not based in reality, and so this is why the amount of information to the amount of high quality truth or high quality accurate knowledge is always going to be like 100 to 1. Mm-hmm. Accurate knowledge versus just information and bullcrap. So the internet seems to be filled out. And of course, with the AIs doing those hallucinations now, giving up wrong information, it's like going to get even worse. I think also, I tell the guys, I prefer they don't do that much social media, but of course, I guess they have to. Sandro's really starting his social media stuff now. And I guess I understand it, but to me, it's a toxic scam that eats away at your self-esteem and your general time. Yeah. So I do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. I don't do TikTok. But I do Facebook to keep in touch with people that I knew in Japan or my family living abroad. But I really curate it. So I block lots of people and I prune my friend list. And a lot of times professional people will friend me on Facebook. And I'm like, this is just for me personal. Please just contact me at Radical. Mm-hmm. And so I just it's like the 20 people I'm related to and 15 other people, and then a bunch of cat videos and some jujitsu stuff. Sure. Lots of, and you know what? Not just cat videos.
Dog videos?
No. Oh. Red pandas. Ah. They are adorably cute.
Cute.
It's like you have a stressed day, you look at a red panda video, you're like, oh, life is not that bad. If red pandas exist, there's something good in this world.
I miss the days when you weren't available all the time.
Of course.
Like, you go, if you're not home and you're out at a movie or at the store, you just couldn't be, if you didn't you run into somebody, cool. But if you didn't, you can't talk to me. I miss those days.
Yeah.
I miss the days of having a piece of paper on the kitchen wall with all the numbers of all your friends written on them. I don't even know anybody's phone number.
I know, yeah. I used to know, that's so funny. I used to know all my friends' phone numbers. Actually, I could probably recite to you at least 5 of my friends' phone numbers from like 1982.
Wow.
Because I dialed them so much.
Sure.
Beep, 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 or Christian. You don't know what I'm talking about. These phones used to be these rotary phones. Yeah. But, I don't know. I have trouble remembering my wife's phone number sometimes.
Yeah.
Because this is the issue with ease too. Ease makes us less capable.
Yeah.
The more we rely on this sort of technology, the more we disappear from a natural state. So I think it's like really good for kids, especially like go to like summer camp and everybody should have their phones impounded. Yeah. Summer, no phones, have the kids and the parents too, just go off hiking in a zone where there's no internet,
Yeah. We went to, I might have told you this already, but we went to a cabin in the Catskills that had no internet.
Oh, that's great.
We were so far out of the way, we couldn't access anything.
And that's very relaxing,
Unplug.
right? Yeah.
Just chill.
Yeah. Being available and on all the time, because I think in our lives, we put on masks. Some people call it, code switching, like if you're, a certain ethnic group and then you go in another ethnic environment, you kind of switch. But I think we all have outside masks. Mm-hmm. In Japanese, they have a really good word for this. It's called honne and tatemae. Tatemae is your outer face, your face to the world, and honne is what you really feel. And, to be polite, you put up a little facade. Now, the Japanese have kind of like made an art of this, but and I think in America we tend to, appreciate a little more honest approach. At least we say that. But at any level, in any social engagement, you're not saying the first thing that comes into your mind. And especially like, with this person, I have to watch this. And so we always have these like little masks. If you're never off, you can never just pull the mask off and just be yourself. So because you're always on, you're always putting a face on. Like if I'm teaching, people understand that when I teach, that's not my personality. That's my teacher role. That's not me. That's my job. Mm-hmm. And that's the role I play because I need to do that to be good. But it's also tiring. Like, just before I came here, I was doing an introductory lesson with the new student and, and it's a good student, really nice kid. But it was very demanding of my attention, very, very tiring. It's, because it's like I can't just relax. I have to be a teacher. I have to watch what I say, exactly how I say it, how I phrase things. I have to also push him in a way that I think is valuable, but doesn't cut him down, and be a certain thing, right? So it's tiring. When you can't escape it. So sometimes I get home and I just don't want to have anything to do with MMA. Mm-hmm. I just want to watch some science fiction or something, because I need to turn off, and it could be TV or whatever, a book, but you need to like chill, I find also hanging out with my childhood friends is very relaxing because you're at ease, These guys I've known for actually coming on, 45 years. I've been friends 45 years. Yeah, so it's a long time. Mm-hmm. So it's like there's no artifice anymore,
That's nice.
They all know your dirty laundry anyway. It's
good.
like, I remember when you puked up and drank too much and blah, 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 whatever, all the embarrassing stuff you did.
What was one of those stories? Let's hear it.
No, thank you. All right. I have just too many embarrassing stories, too many. But one of them is this is the one they always talk about. So I was driving my car, and they always say that I was a little reckless driver. But I think when I was younger, I was. And there's this incredibly sharp hill, and I mean it's a scary hill. It's this very sharp hill, and it's about 5 stories. Wow. From here to the bottom of the hill, and it's a real sharp curve. It's called Spinney Hill. It's in Queens. It's actually Nassau County, but it's the road that goes through Queens to Nassau County, which is where I live, and it's this turn that you have to take to continue on the road, and it's a very sharp turn, and I'm going way too fast, and there's this like very, very attractive woman driving a car right next to me. And then they're like, I'm like, well, what is she listening to? It's like, well, what is she listening to? Like, they're like, Rene, keep your eye on the road. And I literally almost shot us off the cliff. Oh my God. And I turned at the last minute and the tires and the plates screeched against the railing of the thing, and I mean, it was sparks and everything, and I just and I mean, it was so, the tires were like the smell of burnt rubber. Yeah, and of course the side of the car just got, the paint all got ripped off, but we didn't go down the hill, and we were on the the barrier for about like 6 feet, grinding it, and then but we're not dead, which is good, because if we and the horrible thing is I know someone who went off that hill and they became a quadriplegic.
Wow.
So it was on a snowy day, and they were not used to living in New York, and they were from Japan, and they went right off the hill and broke their spine, and so it was like right a few years later that happened to someone I knew.
Wow.
They were working for a Japanese company, and they got transferred to that area, and they were not used to driving in the winter conditions and on this road. Mm-mm. And the roads in Japan are much better maintained than here. They really are. So you don't have to deal with crazy potholes and awful things. And he went right off, and it was tragic. But he eventually gained the ability to walk again and walk around. But it was good. But he was in really bad shape for a while. He was like Christopher Reeve, where he was, in a wheelchair and everything. But then he actually he regained the ability to walk. He can't run, but he would walk with a cane and breathe and on his own and all this other stuff, which is great, because I don't think his spine was severed. I think his spine was completely severed. It was just very, very badly damaged. Mm-hmm. Thank God, but he fractured like 80 bones or something. It was crazy. It was just terrible, terrible, terrible. Concussion and everything. His head was a different shape when I met him. You could tell he was in an accident. His head was not exactly round anymore. He'd cover it with his hair, but it was just sad. His head went right through the windshield. Jeez. And then he got impaled by the steering wheel and stuff. And I don't know all the details. It was just terrible.
Gruesome.
Yeah, but he was okay, and he lives a good life now. So, happy ending.
And you ended up marrying that lady?
No.
No. Oh.
I think no.
You were that lady, and you remember that crash.
No, I don't think they noticed because they were ahead. I think we were behind them. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even remember what that person looked like. They were playing a different song. I'm like, what song are they playing? And I just looked away. I was so dumb. I was 18 at the time, something like that. Yeah, doing dumb stuff, and I was driving way too fast. Mm-hmm. And we were on the way to rent a movie at Blockbuster.
Whoa.
I know. Talk about blast of the past.
Wow. Okay. I still had my Blockbuster card like 10 years ago, and I remember throwing it away. Like, I'll never need this again, but it'd be cool to have.
Yeah. It's like that's like my AOL email. I think it's gonna be like antique. People like, whoa.
You can sell it on eBay.
Yeah, you can sell it on eBay.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, all right.
That's it. So that was it.
Cool recaps.
Yeah. Yes.
Congratulations to Radical for another successful night.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I'm super excited. Gonna take some time off and retool, and there was a lot of things we could work on in the fight. So we'll do the summer for that, and then come back strong and compete again in the fall.
Very good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And big shout out to the entire Radical team that showed up, and the one, especially my wife and Raphael, who got us through craziness. And
that Uber must have been expensive.
It was not cheap, but Raphael was I'm gonna build a promoter for that one.
Yeah. I saw the belts they got in the picture.
It was pretty cool.
Belts.
Thank you. Yeah. And Devin being Devin, he's gonna be like, no, leave it at home. I'm like, dude, oh man, hang it up in this dojo. All right. So see you next week. Hopefully, I have some information, some cool stuff next week.